So when you're thinking about building something, and maybe I'll pose this question to you first because I have a take on it from a company's perspective.
Okay.
Where do you start? Like, how do you start to think about that from a differentiation, from a what you're going to do, what you're going to talk about, what you're going to,
Sure.
I mean, that's always the thing, right? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about?
Well, if you're just starting, you would say, okay, well, how do I find my sweet spot? And you've on the one side, just like, who's the audience and what's their informational need? What's their pain points? Okay. And then on the other side, like, what's my expertise? What are the things that we can talk about that we're experts in? That comes together in some kind of a sweet spot. The problem is most businesses and creators, they just stop there. They think that's enough, but you've got to take it the next step. And, I talk about this as the content tilt, that area of differentiation where you can break through all that clutter. You talked about that as a differentiation, but I want to talk about that, and I want to get your take on it. But I also want to say, and this is for businesses and for individuals, if you do this and you consistently deliver on whatever that base is, whatever that platform is there money there? Meaning, if you build an audience, will it deliver the bottom line from a content marketing perspective, or is there enough sponsorship support, brand support? Is there enough, is there money on that side if you build an audience that can support you financially? Like, you have to think of the money equation first after you get to that sweet spot argument, because what are you doing this for? If you're doing it for a hobby, it does, by the way, this conversation doesn't matter if it's a hobby, but if you actually want to deliver like on marketing KPIs, you have to say, okay, well, great. Let's say you're IBM, but you do some kind of shorts on tacos or whatever the case. What does it matter? Is it going to drive more IBM services sales or our AI stuff or whatever? Probably not. So you've got to make sure that you take that stance on it. Now, from the content tilt thing, the one that I want to get your take, but this is the thing. I just had this conversation with somebody. They were going through here's I think you just brought up an example, right? Okay, I'm doing a podcast and here's my audience and I'm doing this Q&A format and I have some people in my database. But honestly, and this is, I would probably have to say north of 90%, when you look at somebody's content tilt or differentiation area, or you might call it a hook, they don't have it.
Right.
They don't have anything special where they've niched down a topic to a certain area, or they have a tight enough audience that they can go to where they could actually say, hey, if we do the work on this platform over and over again, can we be, let's say on the B2B side, the leading informational expert in this thing? The answer is probably not. You haven't fine-tuned this enough to differentiate with all that content clutter out there to even give yourself a chance. So you get down there 12, 18 months, they're saying, hey, we're delivering consistently over a long period of time. Here's our audience. Here's our sweet spot and tilt. You're like, you could do this for another 2 years. You're not, it's just the same old stuff. You're just blending in with all that clutter. And that's what scares me about a lot of the stuff that happens with companies and creators, because they haven't taken that next step to say, look, we've got to be different in some way.